All right, I think we are good to go. So, hello, everybody. I am Zoe from Foyer Neo. I'm so excited to be here with you all. We're going to be hearing from the amazing Kate Pearce today. She's going to be talking all about how to be in the right place at the right time and how to take advantage of, I guess, opportunities to grow your business, make new connections, and just succeed in life in general. So I will quickly give an introduction to Foyer Neo, and then I see Kate has joined in as our attendee, so we will be transferring her to a panelist, and then she will get started. But for those who are new to our community, Foyer Neo is a new interior design software that is changing the game for sure. We have over 20,000 interior designers who have found success with us, and they have particularly enjoyed our 3D rendering capabilities. That's been a huge, huge pull for us. But we also provide floor plan opportunities. You can do 3D design and so many other things with Foyer Neo. So we'll have more information on the software in the chat. You can try out a free 14-day trial. And now I will pass it over to the amazing Kate.
Hi, everybody. I'm having trouble with my screen right now. Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you, and I can see your screen.
Okay, so I can't see anyone else, but I'm not supposed to, I assume, right?
Yep, you're good. Yeah, you won't see anyone else. Everyone will see you though.
Okay. Hi, I'm Kate. I'm the owner of Kate Pearce Vintage, and I have a design business and a social media company called Kate Pearce Vintage. Today, I wanted to talk about the topic of being in the right place at the right time. And as you can imagine, we can't always be in the right place at the right time, but we need to know when we are in the right place at the right time and how to take advantage of that when it does happen. I always like to tell this story about my dad. He started a business back in the early 1980s. He was a court reporter, and he happened to be on the subway. He had no clients. He started his own business, and he was sitting next to a middle-aged man. He started a conversation with him, and he happened to own one of the largest medical malpractice firms in Manhattan, and said, "Hey, why don't you come in? We'll give you a try, see how it goes." So my dad was incredibly nervous. He almost wanted to say no to the opportunity. He had just started reporting. This was one of the foremost lawyers in all of New York City. But he took advantage of the opportunity. He went in, and they became his single client to this day, and he has business with them every single day. He was able to create an entire business based on this one opportunity from this random man sitting next to him in a subway car. So I think that is really important, just to know when you're there in that spot at that time. But also, if he hadn't started that conversation with that man, he never would have known. He never would have had that opportunity to act on. So I guess that leads me into the main part of my talk, which is not only recognizing when you're in that spot at that time, but being in a position to take advantage of it. You know, my dad had honed in his court reporting skills to a point where he had the confidence to walk into that meeting and take advantage of the situation. So that's another thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to the design world. So when I first started out, on Instagram. I intended on being solely on the internet and not ever doing in-person design jobs. So it was really important that I build out my social media, but I didn't really know how to find those opportunities. I was using my hashtags. I started my blog. I was trying to find clients, trying to find brands to work with. And then one day, Apartment Therapy came along and said, "Hey, we love your home. We want to do this piece, this write-up on you and your home. Are you ready on Sunday?" It was Friday when they asked me this question. My house was a disaster. And not only that, I was traveling to Chicago for a wedding later that day. So I feel like a lot of people would have just said no and hoped that opportunity arose another time. Instead, I said, sure. I didn't sleep that night. I cleaned as much as I could. I hired a cleaning company to come in, clean the house. And she needed to be at my house at 5 to photograph before it would get dark out. I wasn't due to land until 3 o'clock that day at JFK. So It was absolutely hectic, but she actually was at my house before me. I ran in the house. I just crossed my fingers and hoped it was clean, but it went really smoothly. And that was the opportunity that really led to so many others. It helped me grow my social media. It gave me something to put on my resume that gave me some kind of legitimacy that before that point, I feel like I really didn't have. And the point of this story really is you have to be willing to take risks. You have to be willing to jump on that opportunity as it comes. And, so what if your house is dirty? So what if you have 3 hours? Just say yes. Just say yes. And even if things don't go exactly as planned, at least you don't have regrets about saying no to begin with. The second thing is really just willing to be uncomfortable and take those risks and put yourself in situations that are outside of your comfort zone. So I say no to almost nothing, right? So even this talk right now, I don't love public speaking. It is not my forte, but I'm exposing myself to possibly a new audience, meeting a bunch of you, and networking, right? Networking is also absolutely key to putting yourself in the right place at the right time. For me, networking has almost exclusively through social media. I started out on Instagram, but I started out 3 years ago and at that time, Instagram was enough. Now, Instagram's not enough. You need to be on TikTok. You need to be on Pinterest. You need to have your blog. You need to be on Instagram. You need to be on Facebook. So that's the other thing is positioning yourself across as many social media channels as you possibly can, getting exposure in as many different ways as you can so that more of those opportunities will arise and you'll be able to be in the right place at the right time more often. I know I feel pretty comfortable on Instagram right now. I've built out a platform there. I know how hashtags work. I know how to best expose myself on that medium. But more recently, I've started out on TikTok. And this is a whole new playing field for me. I had always thought TikTok was for, Gen Zers and dancers, but not so anymore. If you're in the home decor, if you're in the e-design world, you really need to have a TikTok as well. So I'm in the middle of learning that forum. I don't know how to market myself on there, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to be on there at all. It means I'm going to put myself on there. I'm going to learn the hashtag strategies there. I'm going to learn what kind of content is best for TikTok because it's different content than it would be for Instagram. So that's just another thing as far as exposing your business and your interior brand, your interior design brand. Make sure that you are on as many channels as possible and understand that they are not all the same. I know at first I was just putting my Instagram reels onto TikTok, not thinking about it at all. And that strategy is not working for me, which leads me to my next point is you always need to be growing and learning when things aren't going right. That's another thing. People come up to me all the time and say, hey, Kate, I'm not getting as many clients lately. I'm not selling as many artworks. I have a friend who sells art on Instagram. He's very frustrated because he had this thriving business and recently the algorithm changed and he's not selling as many works. I think there has to be this understanding that things are not always going to stay stagnant and the same, and we have to evolve with those algorithms. We have to evolve with the times. And I think that speaks even to the fact that in this past year during the pandemic, I think a lot of people are doing e-design that weren't doing e-design a year ago. And I mean that from a designer perspective, as well as a client perspective. A lot of people who would have had a designer come into their home a year ago don't feel comfortable doing that now. So as a designer, it's important to see that as an opportunity, and getting into e-design is probably an area where a lot of designers don't feel comfortable, but you have to put yourself out there and learn the new forum. But the beauty of doing e-design is that this can be on your own terms. doing it in your own time. And that's what I love so much about it, because I am a mother of 2 young girls and my schedule is quite hectic. So having that flexibility of being able to schedule a Skype session whenever is convenient for me and the client. And also just knowing that you don't necessarily need to be fluent in a bunch of different e-design software to get started. Like, I didn't know any e-design software when I got started. And even to this day, I mostly just do consultations where I sit down over Skype at a mutually convenient time and we go over a space and come up with ideas. And it can be as simple as that. So going out of your comfort zone, taking risks, and, exposing yourself through social media is going to make those opportunities arise. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was just this topic of authenticity when it comes to social media, and authenticity playing into your brand, because it's so important that you have your own brand and your own style, so that you can stand out from the crowd, that people want you to come in and design their homes with your style and your brand. So, don't be afraid to explore what that might mean. I know a lot of people see me as a color person, and it's funny because I didn't see myself that way at first. I just saw myself as someone who used color in my designs. But now I use that to my advantage, and I make sure that all of my designs that I am broadcasting to the world through social media are very carefully curated with color. And I think that's what makes me stand out amongst a lot of the neutral landscapes that you might see otherwise on social media and in e-design. So if somebody wants color, they're going to think to come to me before going to someone with a more neutral palette. So don't be afraid to explore what exactly that would mean for you. If you're a pattern mixer, if you're into color, or if you're great at mixing period styles, or maybe you just use mid-century or Art Deco, and that's what your brand is. But it's really important that you find that brand and that style, so that you can properly expose yourself through these channels to make those opportunities arise again. I know recently I started watching Design Star on HGTV. 2 of my good friends were on there. And I was really thinking about the types of design stars that they chose to cast for this show. Not one of them had designs that look like everyone else's. Each one of them had such a unique style, and that's exactly why HGTV was taking them and, taking their brands. They had brands, and they wanted each participant, I think there were 10 of them, to expose different styles of design. So that actually, the same thing happened to me about a year ago. I had HGTV call me to do an episode of Handmade Home, and I was so nervous. I almost said no. It was a similar situation. I felt like our house, we were in the middle of designing it. We weren't done. I've done, I think, 3 different rooms since HGTV was here. And I didn't feel like the timing was perfect at that time. But how do you say no to HGTV? You don't. So take the opportunities as they come. Do I look at HGTV Handmade in that episode, and do I think I was awkward on it? Absolutely. Do I think my home could have looked better? Absolutely. But I've had so many people, even a year later, reach out to me and say, hey, I found you through HGTV Handmade Home. I love your style. Can we work together? So always make sure you're taking those risks and, putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations as much as possible. I think that's really key. Also, another thing to think about is, Zoe, are you on right now?
I'm on here, yes.
Oh, sorry. It popped up on my screen that you were talking for some reason.
Oh, no, very strange. You're good.
Yeah, so harnessing the power of social media is important, but the last thing I wanted to talk about was just being able to pitch yourself. Don't expect to just be in the right place at the right time. You need to put yourself out there and, find it, particularly for design, find those different outlets, whether it's Lonnie or Hunker or Apartment Therapy, Domino, My Domain, there are tons of them. And pitch yourself to them. There are almost always sections of their website, or you can reach out to them directly through Instagram, where you can pitch your home, pitch yourself, and getting that exposure is going to help you tremendously in an e-design business, because you have that on your resume, like as seen in Hunker, as seen in Lonnie. It's great to be able to add those things to your resume. And a lot of them are not as particular as you might think. Like at the time I was asked to be on Apartment Therapy, I thought my home was an absolute joke, to be perfectly candid. But just getting out there, getting that exposure, it also gave me the confidence to really take on more risks in my designs at a later time. And I love looking back and seeing that evolution. I've had 3 Apartment Therapy features now, and my latest one was so much stronger than my first one. So, but I didn't wait until my house looked that strong to put myself out there and expose my designs. So also, I just wanted to leave with talking about Foyr's e-design book. They have this fabulous book that you can download online that will go through, I think it's 64, 65 pages, and it has a wealth of information about how to start your e-design business. And there's lots of anecdotal information from tons of different e-design experts. So be sure to download the playbook. You can see it right there. You can click to download the interior design playbook. And I'm going to open this up to a Q&A.
Excellent. So Kate, if you want, I can read out some questions and then you can give the answers. Awesome.
Yeah.
So perfect. Our first question, and also for anybody who has a question, feel free to submit it in the Q&A box at the bottom. Our first one is from Claire, and she says, how much has creating online properties helped you in your revenue?
And you can still hear me, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. It's all of my revenue. So, I mean, by properties, do you mean social media channels? Can they respond to me if I have a question?
Yeah, Claire, you can type in the chat if you have like a clarification for that, but probably like online, yeah, like both e-design and like promoting yourself on social media, that kind of thing.
Great. I mean, that's been everything for me. I had one person yesterday reach out to me on Instagram asking for advice because they had just been busting so much butt on Instagram and social media to build their e-design business for a year. And she was like, Kate, I'm not making money. Help. I think the one thing I would say is that branding online and through social media is everything when it comes to e-design, because that's how most people will discover you. But it is a lot of work up front. Like you're going to put in a lot of hours building those social media channels and that following, and then things will start flooding in. Like I'm at a point where I have to say no to a lot because I just don't have the bandwidth to take in all the opportunities that are coming my way. For years though, I didn't have almost any opportunities as far as monetizing what I was doing. So I would say patience is a virtue when it comes to, getting that business through online channels, but it will pay off in the end.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Our next question is, how do you find a balance between feeling like you're doing your best and doing the right things, and yet the analytics and numbers tell you otherwise?
Right. I mean, I think we all struggle with that. And I talk to a lot of people on Instagram who are way more successful than I am, and they feel that way all the time. They just get really insecure about the numbers they're seeing. And the one thing that I always say, they often come to me for me to talk them off the ledge, because I've always had this understanding that those numbers are going to fluctuate. The algorithms are always going to change. And it's not always a comment on your content or what you're putting out there. It may just mean that you're not totally understanding how that new algorithm works. Maybe it's prioritizing how much you're engaging rather than how much people are engaging with you. Maybe it's prioritizing colorful images rather than neutral ones. There are a lot of crazy ways these social media algorithms work. And it's very difficult sometimes for you to just keep that out of your head and say, like, this isn't me, this is the algorithm. That said, it's important, though, to try and explore what's going wrong, because it is something you're doing, but it's not necessarily the quality of your content. So recognize that what you're doing is not working for that current algorithm, but also don't let it give you feelings of insecurity either. If I'm articulating this well, I'm not sure, because it often has nothing to do with the quality of what you're doing. It's just how you're doing it.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Next questions, and I think we can all relate to this one. Someone says, comfort zones feel better. Do you have any strategies for introverts who want to get out of their shell but don't know how?
Absolutely. I 100% identify as an introvert myself. And that's been very difficult for me. I would say the fact that so much of that interaction happens online is helpful as an introvert, because I can manage my time better. If I'm feeling very overwhelmed, like I need that me time to recharge, I can just shut down my app. It's not like I'm in the middle of a client meeting in an office with other people. So I think e-design is a wonderful career for introverts because it can be done more on your timeline. That said, it has been difficult for me to do things like this talk or Instagram lives, or even just getting on Instagram stories. I had my account for 18 months before I got on Instagram stories. And now it feels like second nature, but you do have to just put yourself out there, get out of that comfort zone sometimes, and then it will become a comfort zone. Instagram stories is a comfort zone for me now. And when I first went on, I would be sweating.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Next question is from Shireen, and she asks, how did you start to develop a pricing strategy?
So when I first started out, I just asked my friends who had similar accounts to me, and similar styles and similar experience. I wasn't going to go ask Emily Henderson what she charges for a room. So that was very helpful for me, just to get an idea of where to start for what. And then as you get more experience and more exposure, you can feel confident in charging more. The one thing I would add is I also will have different pricing based on how busy I am. And if I can't take on a job, but I'll be transparent about that. I'll say, I can't take this on unless it can be for this much. I'll even do that with brands. I did that to a brand today. They wanted to work with me and they had a pretty small budget. And I said, sorry, I'm very busy these days. I can't do it for any less than this. And you're taking a risk, but you're already overwhelmed. So if you don't get the gig, you don't get the gig. But pricing can be tricky. I would say definitely, if you have friends who are in e-design, or if you can get on Instagram and find people through hashtags, what have you, and just reach out. And I know it's scary to talk money sometimes, but it's very helpful to just talk to other people and see what they're charging.
Perfect. Thank you. Next question. How much time did it take to make your blog profitable, and how did you measure that success?
Blogging's a little bit tricky because my blog actually started after my Instagram. So my Instagram, it took about 18 months to make it profitable. And I didn't even add my blog until that time because so many brands and clients were asking for blogs. So at the time I started the blog, it ended up being profitable, but only because I had built up the social media first. But hopefully that can help you gauge that it did take me over a year before any of it became profitable for me.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Next question. Somebody said, is getting on Instagram a necessity? If I'm not on it, am I losing money? I'm not good with social media.
If e-design is going to be your gig, I would say you absolutely are missing out on money by not being on social media. I know that's how I get every one of my gigs. And also it's much easier to monetize in different ways. Like I don't only work with e-design clients, I work with people on even social media. I will have sessions with them, consultation sessions, giving them advice on social media. And I have interior design brands that want to work with me because of the social media that I've built. So and even if you are doing in-person design, I think having a social media presence is important. You're just exposing yourself to so many more people.
Perfect. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Along those lines, is there a specific kind of resource that you go to learn about changes in the social media algorithms and to kind of keep up to date with what kind of content you should be producing?
I just talk with other friends. So I've been on Instagram in the interior design world anyway for about 3 years now, maybe 3.5. So I've built a community and I've worked hard to build that community. And I have hundreds of friends who are doing design on Instagram. So when that happens, and it's happening right now, a lot of people are really feeling it on Instagram right now. We talk to each other and we try to figure it out. It's like, did you change up your hashtag strategy? Are you posting at a different time of day? What type of post do you find you're performing better? And we talk with each other. I find articles are not quite as helpful. They all kind of say the same thing, and it's the same thing they say all the time. It doesn't seem to change with the algorithm too much. But the other thing I'd say is I do research. I'll see a post that does phenomenally well and I'll study it. I'll see where's the person from, what time did they post, what hashtags did they use, how much are they engaging with the post. So you just have to play a little bit of detective, but also building that network and those relationships can help you sift through those algorithm issues so you can kind of talk it out with each other.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. We have time for one or two more questions. So our next one comes from Elizabeth Kelly, and she asks, do you create your posts yourself to do it like out there to stay true to your brand, or do you have company do them for you? And what's the best strategy for that?
I do all of my posts on my own, and I do all of it. I do the photography, the editing, the posts, the writing, the engagement, even responding to the direct messages I get on Instagram. And it is getting to a point where I feel like I don't have the bandwidth to keep up with all of it. So I have been starting to explore whether I can source some of that, outsource some of that. But the problem is, as you're sort of alluding to, your brand, my brand anyway, is me. And if I'm not responding to those direct messages or I'm not creating that content, will it still be true to my brand? So I feel a little bit spread thin, but that has been really important to me in order to make sure everything stays on brand, that I have control over it. A lot of larger accounts, though, do outsource a lot of those things. It just depends, but I think as much control as you can have over your brand and your identity on social media, the better.
Perfect. Thank you so, so much for that. We'll go with one more question. Going back to the blog topic, an anonymous attendee, first of all, thanks you for coming here. They said they learned so much from this, and they want to know what your tips are for starting a blog, because they've heard that competition is tough and they don't really know kind of where to get started with that.
Sure. For me, I built my social media before I built my blog because I think that is a very important way of driving traffic to your blog is through social media. And as far as driving traffic to your blog, Pinterest is definitely the most important. It's more important than Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, Twitter, what have you, because people can directly click on images from your blog and it will take them directly to your site. So I get around 1 million Pinterest views a month, which is decent. But I only have like less than 2,000 followers. So you don't necessarily need a lot of followers on Pinterest, but if you have great blog content, you'll still be driving a lot of people from your Pinterest to your blog. I know that was probably a little bit off topic, but I think that that's probably a smart strategy. Build your social media first, and then you'll much more easily be able to drive content to your blog.
Amazing. Thank you so, so much, Kate, for all this incredible information. I know we have a bunch more questions that we didn't have time for, so we put Kate's Instagram link in the chat. Definitely feel free to reach out to her with any questions, and be sure to follow along and see all of the awesome content she's putting out there. And thank you so, so much again, Kate, for this wonderful, wonderful talk.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you soon.
You too.